The Butcher just got butchered. Bryan Battle is officially not part of the UFC anymore. All about it. Where does he go from here in this video? Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA.
Yo, assalamu alaikum, my niggas. What's good?
Before we start, guys, I need some caffeine. Alright. Bryan Battle, a guy that came from The Ultimate Fighter, had quite a successful UFC career. Why don't we just look into it, right? It's not like, because he got cut, it's not like any other person who's like win-loss, where you're like, okay, who cares?
Who cares? I don't care. Why do you care?
Move on. This is a quite special case that I don't remember in recent years, at least in recent memory, ever happening. That someone gets cut due to kind of their, well, if you say misbehavior, you could use, and that's probably the only example that really makes sense in that case, or is kind of similar in some sense, is Muhammad Mokaev. Mokaev got cut by the UFC even though he was undefeated, right? Even crazier, undefeated in the flyweight division, which is a division that needs prospects, even though it's getting quite good, but you get what I'm saying. And he got cut off the win because he allegedly was pretty hard to deal with backstage and was kind of a problem child, right? In this case, you have Bryan Battle, who, as I said, this was the Ultimate Fighter finale, won the belt. Yeah, won the Ultimate Fighter trophy, not a belt. He came in, the Ultimate Fighter, and Andre Petrovsky was in that season. I didn't even remember that. Anyways, he then in the UFC won all fights except from a loss against Yunus Fakhretdinov, who's very good himself, in a unanimous decision. Didn't get finished or something like that. And he had quite a good stretch, and especially recently started to really build some awesome momentum. I mean, TKO win against Gabe Green, submission win against AJ Fletcher, beat the living hell out of Angelusa. Fight got stopped because of an eye poke, I think. Kevin Chousset, beautiful TKO with, and that as well is something that I have to mention. He started to build momentum with the fan base because of how he acted. That famous speech where he's like, y'all didn't think the Butcher's gonna lose in a fist fight to a French dude or something like that, and now the Butcher lost the UFC contract. Anyways, he started to really build momentum with the fans as well. He started to really be, not a star, but you get what I'm saying. He started to climb the rankings of popularity. So everything, like, in the recent, let's say, I'm not good with math, 2.5, 3 years were awesome in his life. He won every fight. This is also a win for me. Angelusa beat the crap out of him. Won all fights. Started to gain a lot of followers, a lot of momentum. Has been on podcasts and everything. Like, everything was going well for him, right? And now he's not in the UFC anymore. But why is that? This fight is where it all started. Against Gabe Green, he came in 2 pounds overweight, if I remember right. 2 pounds overweight, that was his first weight miss. A little bit of a backstory, Bryan Battle used to be severely obese. His nickname, he changed it now, what's his nickname here? The Butcher, yeah, of course, I just said it in the beginning. His nickname used to be Pooh Bear. That's why I always love to call him Pooh Bear. Bryan Pooh Bear Battle, I love that nickname, it's kind of funny. Even though the Butcher is kind of cool as well. He used to be a heavyweight. I think there's even, Topology doesn't say, maybe on Sherdog you can see it. Some of those fights in the beginning, especially amateur and stuff, were heavyweight. Like, he used to fight at heavyweight. He was pretty, not obese, but pretty heavy in the beginning of his UFC career, right? Now he fought at welterweight, which is obviously quite the cut. I mean, that's 170. Heavyweight is up until 265, right? And it was never really a problem. He even, the wild thing is, back in the day in the Ultimate Fighter, he looked fluffy. He did not look, maybe we can see Bryan Battle tough. Let's see. Bryan Battle tough. Okay, Instagram blurs it. This is recent, come on. Why you gotta film it like that? You cannot really see it here, but yeah, he was a little bit puffy. This maybe is flexing and stuff, but he was a little bit puffy. He was not really in insane shape. He didn't look like a crazy fighter or something like that in terms of his body. You know what I mean? This is bad already, but you get what I'm saying. And then recently he started, look at how he looks here. Like, he started to really look shredded, build some muscle, and look like a real fighter in terms of his physique, right? Which is kind of contradicting to what has happened to him, because when he looked fluffy, he never missed weight, no problems here. And then against Gabe Green, he missed weight by 2 pounds. Now, it's always bad if you miss weight, but it can happen once, never mind. Next fight makes weight, everything good. Everything good here. Everything's going well. Even earns, performance of the night bonus against Kevin Chusset. And then, against Randy Brown, he missed weight. Does it say here by 4 pounds? Doesn't say, yeah? But that probably means... I never realized that. On the policy, that means weight miss. That's cool. I didn't realize that. I swear to God, I just realized that right now. Against Randy Brown, he missed weight by 4 pounds. That was his last fight, right? By 4 pounds, which is quite a lot. A lot of fights get cancelled because of that. And you have to pay 25% or something like that to your opponent. I once made a video about that, go watch it. They were explained a little bit better. So there was like, okay, he missed weight 2 times now already in the UFC, this time at 4 pounds, that's a lot. The fight was in jeopardy and it was quite a big fight as well. Like, as I said, Bryan Battle is not just a prelim fighter anymore, he's a big name. I'm actually surprised he never headlined the fight night, because he would be in that position right now. But he still beat Randy Brown in a very good fight, had a good performance, and the UFC then forced him to move up to 185 to middleweight. He moved up to middleweight, was scheduled to fight Nursultan Ruziboev this past weekend, UFC 319, and no one would have guessed that he misses weight at 185. He used to make 170 no problem. Then he did not make weight by 4 pounds. He was still, by 4 pounds, you're still about 180. He came in at 190 for this fight against Nursultan. This was the longest weigh-in ever. If you watch it, it's like 3-4 minutes where he's on the scale. It's very weird. He came out 4 pounds. It's 185, but you always have the 1 pound that you can be over 186. So he came in 4 pounds too heavy at 190, which is insane. It's insane that you move up, you get forced to move up a division, you do not really like acquire any muscle or something, you still look the same, and you do not even manage to make weight. It's not even that it's 145 to 155, which is 10 pounds, it's 170 to 185, it's 15 pounds. It's even one of the bigger gaps in weight divisions, and you still manage to come in overweight. This is just pure unprofessionalism and laziness. You cannot tell me anything else. And he said himself, he came in with some weird reasons on Area One. He was like, yeah, you know, I'm getting old. How old is he? He's 30, bro. He's entering his prime right now. In the next 1 or 2 years is when he enters his prime. He's like, you know, I'm getting old. My body doesn't react anymore like it used to when my coffee gets cold. Nothing worse than when coffee gets cold. My body doesn't react and loses weight anymore like it used to. Like, bro, you are not in the PFL or some other leagues. You're in the UFC. You have the Performance Institute. You have every resource you need to make. No one in the UFC has any reason to miss weight anymore. The PI, you can ask the PI to help you. The PI is there to make you a plan for the meals, for everything, when to lose how much weight. They make you a perfect plan and assist you every step of the way to make weight. It has never been easier in the history of combat sports to make weight. No other combat sport, no other organization, no matter who, has any easier of a job than UFC fighters to make weight. You have all the assistance in the world if you want to. You know what I mean? Like, you have no reason, unless the only thing I can accept is if you're very sick but you still want to take the fight and you're so sick that you can't really lose weight. Okay, if that happens once, okay, I can see you're a badass for even still taking a fight, right? But in this case, there's no excuse. There's just no excuse. You are purely to blame, and he took the blame on himself, but still, he still searched for excuses with his body is getting old and all that. Bro, you're 30. Relax, son. You know what I mean? So yeah, and now he got cut, which was, I was thinking about the possibility, but I was like, no, man. Like, he's a big name for them, for where he is in the rankings, you know what I mean? And he's winning fights and all of that. He's doing good promotion. Like, he's a guy that the UFC loves normally. I was like, they're probably gonna punish him with something, but they're not gonna cut him. That's kind of I mean, I saw the possibility, but I was like, that would not be smart for the UFC because they are better off with him. You know what I mean? They just have to make something happen to ensure he makes weight, or yeah, just some special talks with him. But now they officially cut him. He's not part of the UFC anymore. I don't know what they communicated towards him. Nothing has been published in that regard. Maybe they told him, hey, get 1 or 2 fights on the regional scene and you're right back in. Because you have to say, bro, Bryan Battle, the thing is, it's MMA, everyone can beat everyone, and it's sometimes fighters even have a tougher going once they get away from the UFC, back to smaller leagues or the regional scene. You see quite often that people then struggle, which is kind of weird. But if we talk pure logically, Bryan Battle beats all those regional scene guys, unless a Hamzat is there or something like that that we just don't know about it yet, you know what I mean? But Bryan Battle is a top-notch UFC fighter. He belongs in there with the best of the best in the UFC, you know what I mean? So it would be kind of crazy to see him in like LFA or something. I think the valid thing is to have him at LFA, some kind of UFC Fight Pass organization, have him do 1, maximum 2 fights immediately for the title. I mean, come on, like, let's not fool ourselves. It's not like the weight miss is horrible, but it has nothing to do with the skills. He needs to fight for a title, like, come on. You know what I mean? So let him fight for the LFA title, win the title. Maybe if the UFC is that pissed, also defend the title, show that you can make weight twice in a row. Which weight class? I don't know, probably 185. And then get right back into the UFC. Because at this age, he's entering his prime right now. Let's not waste any time. He should fight as soon as possible as well. Just get back in there as soon as possible to the UFC. You know what I mean? And that's the plan that I suggest for him. Now, the other option that he has is, and that offer will 100% come unless they're really as broke as I think they are, but PFL. There's no one else really at the moment, like one championship. I don't think they're interested in Bryan Battle. They are not really interested in upping their MMA roster at the moment. They're focusing more on other things, and they're having some struggles anyways. But the PFL could definitely offer Bryan Battle, at least if you believe the Saudi money that they have. In my opinion, they're kind of getting broke because they can't sell any event and they're doing horrible events, and yeah, it's just weird business. I made a couple of videos about PFL already. I'm not a fan of them at all. But if he's stupid and the PFL offers him a contract that is better paid than his UFC contract was, and if he is that stupid, he might take that contract and think like, I'm gonna be PFL champion. The thing is, like that, you will not get back into the UFC. The UFC will just not care about you. I don't think the UFC will take him back if he goes to PFL. And the problem is, once you lose 1 fight in the PFL, it's gone. Like, your career is kind of not destroyed. You can always come back. He's 30 years old, but you get the message I'm trying to bring out here. Like, if he goes into the PFL and loses a fight, which is very possible, against a guy that no one knows, there's some crazy Dagestanis there, that hurts him significantly, that no one is interested in him anymore, and this whole hype, everything is just gone, right? If he fights in the LFA, people will tune in. I would probably, I'm gonna be honest, if he fights for the LFA title, I will tune in. I never watched the LFA just because it's not at European time, so I'm not bothering waking up at 4 AM to watch LFA, let's be honest. But they have great fights. If he fights for the LFA title, I will tune in. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of guy he is. He is polarizing, he is a phenomenal fighter, and he makes people wanting to tune in, right? So I think, hey, just eat the shit that you've been served right now, take it on the chin, make sure to make all the necessary adjustments to never ever miss weight again. This is pathetic to miss weight at 185 at this stage, you know what I mean? So make all the necessary adjustments and yeah, come back, go to the LFA, win 1 or 2 fights, come back to the UFC, and continue on your path to a potential even UFC world title. This is my opinion about the Bryan Battle situation, right? Your opinion in the comments. What do you think he should do? What is your opinion about this whole thing? Should he have been cut? Whatever, write in the comments, guys. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, would appreciate that. Check out all the links in the bio, my merch, all the good stuff. I appreciate all the support. Stay bloody, you guys. And until the next one, bye-bye. Bloodsport out.